Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
All right, take two. What is up, you guys? The New York Mets dropped the series finale with the Pittsburgh Pirates as they are blanked by a final score of 4-0, unable to complete the sweep of the Buccos in this one. Just a very lackluster, boring performance from the Mets offense in this one as they tally just 6 total hits against the Pirates' beleaguered pitching staff. Very, very frustrating game. And despite taking 2 out of 3, I'll be honest, I feel like a pretty frustrating series as we'll get into here. Guys, what's up? I'm Tony Metro. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. I do daily Mets content. We do post-game streams, and I do all kinds of little things in between that. You can also follow me on all my different platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. The links to those are all down here in my bio. No highlights over here today because there were really no highlights in this one. Obviously, we know the Mets don't score any runs today. They get blanked for just the second time this season. The last time came back in April against the Marlins. So it had been a while since this Mets offense was shut out. But today, that's exactly what the Pirates did. Let's get into it. First inning, the Mets had the bases loaded and a chance to score, but Luis Torrens with 2 outs goes down swinging as the Pirates are able to extinguish that threat. And then the very next half inning, Clay Holmes goes out, and with 2 outs, the rain starts to come down. The clouds open up above him, and it is absolutely pouring. We also know, if you have seen some of the captures from MLB Game Day that shows the strike zone, that it looks like he may have got squeezed on at least 2, if not 3 of those pitches that would have got him out of that inning. Instead, with a 3-2 count and 2 outs, he serves up a two-run home run to Mitch Gorski for the Pirates, and they jump out to a 2-0 lead. The Mets would load the bases again in the 4th, but once again, failing to hit with runners in scoring position. They come up empty. Those easily their 2 best chances to score in this one as they get blanked the rest of the way. Clay Holmes out in the 5th inning gives up another 2-run home run to Triolo, and that was more than enough for the Pirates as the Mets bats sleep at the wheel here tonight. Unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. I would have liked to have seen the Mets complete the sweep, and let's get into it. I won't go into all the box scores and the nitty-gritty details. Really was a just tough game for the Mets bats today against a guy that really doesn't have a whole lot of impressive numbers. Bailey Falter pitching for the Pirates. It looked like they had him on the ropes there in the 1st inning. I think he threw about 28 pitches to get through that inning with the bases loaded. And yet the Mets can't break through there. And then they go to the 4th and they once again load the bases. And that's where a lot of people are talking right now. We know Jose Azocar got the start instead of Juan Soto, who was just getting a day off. And so a lot of people were curious, hey, Carlos Mendoza, would you pinch hit for Azocar there with 2 outs? They bring in the righty to face him, so he could have used Brett Beatty. He obviously could have used Soto, who he said he was giving the day off today for just rest, normal rest day for Soto. And he does not. He uses a Azocar and first pitch swinging lines out to center field. So, I mean, if you ask me, I would not have pinch hit a Azocar there because they do end up playing a full game. Now, it was raining. It was a very brief little window of rain. The only way that I think Mendoza should have pinch hit for a Azocar there was if there was more rain forecasted through the night, that this might be a rain-shortened game. The Pirates were leading 2-0. It was the 4th inning. You have to look to tie that ball game up so that if it does go official after 5 or after 6 or somewhere in there and the rain picks up, then I would get on Mendoza about not pinching for Azocar. But the Mets officials were told that the window for rain was going to be very short. It really did not rain a whole lot more after that. So I can't really get on Mendoza for not pinch hitting for Azocar in that situation. You can't go to Juan Soto, beg him to take the day off, because that's actually what he had to do according to Steve Gelbs and Cohen and Ronnie Darling. Soto didn't want to take the day off. They convinced him to do it anyway. You can't go to him then in the 4th inning and be like, hey, get your helmet on, you know? So I'm not going to get on Mendoza for not pinch hitting Azocar, but obviously that was the Mets' best opportunity to break through in this. Just the second time that this Mets team has been shut out this year. Like I said, the previous time came in April against the Marlins, so it had been a little while. But overall in this series, I'm not super impressed with how the Mets played at all. And I think most people probably share that same sentiment. on Monday going against Paul Skeens. Obviously a really tough matchup. I did really like their approach at the plate with him. I thought they had a lot of really good at-bats, and they do end up holding on to win that one. They score 4 runs in it. A couple of them, though, little cheapies. We obviously had the infield single from Pete Alonso. Then there was the sac fly for the winner off of Alonso's bat. A little ground out from Juan Soto in that one. That was how they scored 3 of their runs. The other one came from Jeff McNeil. Then we had yesterday Brett Beatty, a solo shot, and then an RBI single earlier in the game from Brandon Nimmo. That was the totality of their scoring yesterday. And then today, just 6 hits as they get blanked by the Pirates pitching staff, which is not remotely close to one of the tops in the National League. So overall, I'm not left feeling bad about this series, but I definitely am a little concerned to see them struggle as mightily as they did against the Pirates here to get 2 out of 3. Overall, though, you get 2 out of 3. It's hard to knock them. We'll get into it in a little bit. James, what's up? Bad day for fans with the orange and blue. You're telling me, man, that Knicks game sucked. I don't understand how Boston jumped out to like a 15-point lead in the third quarter and then 20, and eventually it's like a 24-point game by the final. Like, I didn't think they were outplaying us that much. They just shoot the ball from 3 at a ridiculous rate. I mean, it just feels lucky how much they can make threes. But hopefully the Knicks will close it out at the Garden in Game 6. I mean, you can't go back to Boston now. That would be bad. That would be really, really bad. So hopefully the Knicks will close it out, get the job done on Friday at the Garden. Same day, by the way, as the first game of Mets-Yankees Subway Series at the stadium. So New York is going to be chaos this weekend. What do you guys think? Should Carlos Mendoza have pinch hit for Jose Azocar with the bases loaded and 2 outs in the 4th? I personally wouldn't have done it. I kind of like him being a player's manager, sticking with this guy there. It's only May. Azocar hasn't had a start in 10 games. Give him a shot there. He actually put some pretty good wood on ball. Had a couple decent at-bats today, so I'm not even going to kill Azocar either in this situation. But would you guys have pinch hit him in that situation? Let me know in the comment section. James didn't want to see Holmes on short rest. He only threw 63 innings last year. Yeah, and that's something the Mets are definitely going to have to monitor. You know, we've had some really great performances from Clay Holmes so far. He's been tremendous converting from a closer to a starter, but they do need to be mindful about him converting and not having pitched as many innings as a starter typically would. You know, coming as a closer into the starter role now, the Mets definitely need to be wary of how much they push Holmes. And to put him out there for the 6th was a little surprising after giving up the second 2-run homer of the Game 2 Triolo. But that being said, hopefully when Sean Manaea and or Frankie Montas come back, that'll give the Mets the luxury of going to a 6-man rotation. Maybe they'll even be able to get some extra days rest in there using Montas in some type of fashion, or McGill as a spot starter if they decide to put him into the bullpen. That's a whole nother can of worms that we don't really know how it's going to look until we officially understand when those 2 guys are coming back. But it will benefit guys like Holmes and obviously Kodai Senga, who the Mets continue to try to give consistent 5-day rest as he also comes back from a season that was basically lost in 2024. So very good point by you, James. Waddell was ready, started and gave up no runs, has a 1.42. Yeah, and Waddell was tremendous for the Mets in that little spot start. I guess it wasn't a start because Brazaban was the opener, but he was the chunk guy, as they called it. Or bulk guy. I kind of like chunk guy better, but he pitched really well in that lone MLB appearance that he had. He is a nice little thing for the Mets to have in their back pocket as they continue this stretch. Luckily, they do have a lot of off days in May, which they didn't have so much of to begin the first month and a half of the season. They'll be off this Thursday, and they'll also be off next Thursday as well. So none of this 13 games in 13 days like they've had 2 different stretches of so far in 2025. So that will be a big, big relief for this pitching staff that has been totally taxed. But let's get into the lineup here today. I mean, again, obviously not a whole lot to talk about. A lot of zeros in this one. Francisco Lindor, 0 for 3 back-to-back games with 0-fers for Francisco Lindor. Yesterday was 0 for 4. Today, 0 for 3. His batting average actually drops down below 300. Not worried about him the least bit. Pete Alonso ends up going 1 for 3, had a base hit, tried to extend it into a double, down 4 runs and 2 outs. That was a little questionable, not going to lie, Pete. Wasn't super thrilled about you getting thrown out at second there. Vientos had a base knock. Nimmo had a base knock. Marte with one in the ninth, trying to get a little rally going. And then you had Luis Torrens with a base hit as well. And then Jeff McNeil had a pinch hit single. And that's the totality of the Mets offense in this. They only draw 5 walks, but just can't get the clutch hit that they needed either in the first or in the fourth inning there with the bases loaded. Really tough. I mean, you just felt like it was one of those nights that it wasn't the Mets night. I mean, the rain comes pouring down on Clay Holmes in the second inning. He doesn't get the calls from the home plate umpire. Looks like they were strikes and he was getting squeezed. And then in the ninth inning with a leadoff single from Starling Marte, Brett Beatty hits one to the warning track in left center. I thought he got all of that one. I mean, this dude is looking really good at the plate lately. And I was like, that's gone. He got it. And then it ends up obviously being caught. Luis Angel Acuna right after him, then with 2 outs, hits it to almost the exact same spot. And Bay was there to make the catch and end the game. It just felt like one of those nights where it just wasn't the Mets night. I mean, the Pirates just had it going for them, unfortunately. So a 4-0 final. How are you guys feeling? Are you disappointed that they didn't sweep the Pirates in this one? Let me know in the comment section over here. I am, but I'm also not. I am because it feels like somewhat of a missed opportunity. You win against Paul Skeens on Monday, and then you pull one out yesterday where Edwin Diaz had to tightrope his way to a save. And then today to be taking on Bailey Falter, who doesn't have terrible numbers, but certainly is no world beater. It just feels like it would have been a nice time for the Mets to continue to fatten up on one of the lower tier teams in the league and just enjoy it while you can, because the schedule is really going to toughen up now. The Mets are going to go play 3 against the Yankees in the Bronx starting on Friday. Then they go right out to Boston for 3 more before returning home at Citi Field, but they'll be playing the defending World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. So this is a pretty tough 9-game stretch. Yankees have been playing pretty good ball lately. The Red Sox, not so much. They actually just fell a game below 500 with another walk-off loss to the Tigers today. Hey, how about those Tigers, by the way? They are great, killing it right now. And then obviously the Dodgers are the Dodgers. So it felt like a missed opportunity for me where I thought that they could have beat the Pirates. Obviously, they did it the first 2 games, but not super impressive fashion. So that was very, very frustrating to me, where I did think that they might have had a chance to complete this sweep. Clay Holmes didn't have his best stuff. He ends up going 6 innings, gives up 7 hits, walks 5 batters, and gives up the 4 total earned runs on those 2 homers. I mean, it is so hard to throw a baseball, period, when it is raining outside. But to pitch and have command of your stuff, multiple pitches, trying to throw it between 94 and 98 miles per hour with a hard-breaking slider and a changeup, it is so, so difficult to do in those rainy, wet conditions. So it's unfortunate, but the Mets just unable to get the job done in this one. By the way, guys, I didn't put highlights up because, let's be real, they were 2 home runs from the Pirates. So I actually over here have my latest video that I just put out, and that is about how the Mets went from total chaos to contenders in a 2-year span, basically talking about the Mets from 2022 through 2025 and the run to where they are right now. So guys, be sure to check that out. Videos on my channel. I also have another video that I am working on right now, diligently into the night this evening, actually, that I'm hoping will be out by Thursday or Friday. Very detailed look at one of the eras of the New York Mets. I think you guys will really enjoy it. It's not as positive as this video is, but I do think you guys will thoroughly enjoy it. So I hope you guys will check that out. But what are your guys' big takeaways from this series? For me, it's that this Mets offense continues to kind of be inconsistent. I mean, you know, they go out against the Cubs, who are one of the better teams in the National League, leading the Central right now, and they score 6 runs on Friday, 5 runs on Saturday, and then 7 more runs in a win on Sunday. I might have had Friday and Sunday mixed around, but in any case, they scored 18 runs. They slugged 9 homers in that series against the Cubbies, including Jameson Taillon. And then they come out against one of the worst pitching staffs in the National League and all of baseball in the Pirates, and they just look like they couldn't touch the Buccos in this 3-game set. I mean, like I said, Monday, you only scored 2. Understandable. They scored 4 in that one, but understandable. You're going against Paul Skeens. Tough matchup. One of the best pitchers in baseball, no doubt about it. But yesterday, they only barely scraped by with a 2-1 victory. And then today, they get blanked, shut out. Only the second time this year, but only 6 hits in this game. It's actually the lowest hit total that the Mets have had this year. So I'm a little concerned about the offense. I know Juan Soto wasn't in the lineup today, but that should be damned. That shouldn't be an issue anyway. I'm not worried if Juan Soto needs a day off because I would think the rest of this lineup is good enough to be able to hit a staff like the Pirates. But unfortunately, that was definitely not the case. So my big takeaway is this offense still needs to find itself. It still needs to find that groove of consistency that it seems like they've been lacking pretty much since the jump. You'll have series where they're hitting the cover off the ball from game to game, from end to end. And then you'll have a series like this one where it doesn't really matter who the opponent is putting on the mound. The Mets bats are just not hitting them. So very, very frustrating for sure. But not a terrible job by Clay Holmes in this one. The 2-2-run homers. I think he got snake bitten by those bad calls from the home plate umpire that really led to that first home run in the second inning. Overall, not going to kill him for it. He's been really, really good lately, and I'm thinking it's going to continue. This is a little hiccup in the road, little speed bump, and I'm not overly concerned about it whatsoever. I'm looking forward to seeing him make his next start. So real quick before we wrap things up, let's talk about the bullpen. They did a decent job. Genesis Cabrera actually soaking up some work for the Mets, which I can appreciate. I mean, if he keeps pitching as well as he has, I know he had the bases loaded, but got out of it with 1 out. 2 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. Lowers his season ERA down to 1.80. So good for Genesis Cabrera, who actually had pretty good numbers with Toronto last year, but his FIP was a lot higher than his ERA. So he maybe wasn't pitching as well as his earned run average would have suggested. Nonetheless, he might be earning a spot in a very, very depleted bullpen right now. So good for Genesis Cabrera. If he does keep pitching this way, he may absolutely be someone they keep along for a while, even if that is one of those mop-up duty, long relief kind of guys. We'll take anything that we can get at this point. The Mets bullpen just needs bodies. And then Dednell Nunez looked relatively sharp in his lone outing, 1 inning. Perfect 1-2-3 with a strikeout. His ERA is still at 10.13, but I think that was a great spot for Carlos Mendoza to get him into. Let him get some of that confidence back. Let him test his stuff out a little bit and let it rip without there being any big pressure on him. Mets are already trailing 4-0. Wet, damp night, not a big crowd at Citi Field, so I think that was a really good idea by Mendoza to have Nunez go out there for the 8th inning, and he gets the job done 1-2-3. So we're going to head into this series with the Yankees in the Bronx now. How are you feeling? Let me know in the comments section. Me, I'm excited. I think the Mets are a way better team than the Yankees are this year, without a doubt. I think that the Mets have better pitching. I think they have a better lineup when they're clicking. That's the key, when they're clicking. And I do believe that the Mets will take 2 out of 3 against the Yankees this weekend in the Bronx. I think Juan Soto is going to go bonkers in this series. I think at least 2 home runs, at least 6 hits, multiple RBIs. I definitely am looking forward to his return to Yankee Stadium. I think they're going to boo the crap out of him, and I think it's going to get him juiced, and I think it might even kickstart him for the rest of the season because Juan Soto needs that juice, that energy. We haven't seen that Soto shuffle, right? We have only maybe seen it once so far in a Mets uniform. I think he's going to give it to us against the Yankees on Friday night in his first at-bat of the first inning. We're going to get the Soto shuffle in the first inning of the first game at Yankee Stadium on Friday. And I really do think if he has a good series against the Yankees here this weekend, it could jumpstart his whole 2025 season. The numbers haven't been terrible, but obviously we are looking for more out of Juan Soto. So that's what my feeling is on this upcoming series with the Yankees. Are we going to see Fried or not? ESPN says no. SNY says yes. I think, yeah, we're going to see Fried. I know Friday it's Tyler McGill versus Carlos Rodon. After that, though, I'm getting mixed information too. I don't know if we're going to see Fried or not. The Mets have hit Fried before when he was a member of the Braves. He's looking really, really good this year, so we'll see. But overall, we're coming into this series where the Mets have been dominating the Yankees over the last 2 years. Won all 4 games with the Yanks in the Subway Series in 2024. That doesn't really matter. You throw it all out the window, especially when you got a guy like Aaron Judge. He leads baseball in batting average and extra base hits. He is just unbelievable, the greatest hitter of this generation without a doubt. But I do believe that this is going to be a successful series for them. They're going to come out, they're going to win 2 out of 3 in the Bronx, and then they're going to head to Boston and do the same thing. But we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Let's just focus on this series. Meanwhile, the Knicks with a big Game 6 on Friday at the Garden as well. If you're a Knicks fan, drop a comment in the section. How you feeling? Because that one was pretty demoralizing, I'm not going to lie. That was a tough loss for the Knicks tonight. But it is what it is. Got 2 more to work with. Hopefully it only takes 1. They win it on Friday and finish out this series. But guys, thank you so much for joining the stream. I'm going to wrap it up here as we get back to working on this video that I hope to have out for you either tomorrow or Friday. Not going to reveal any more details on it yet, but I think you guys will really enjoy it as we dive deep into some Mets history. So be sure to check that out. Guys, that's it for right now. Until next time, I'm Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.